Hey guys, Blake here with another video, and I've got everything we need today because I thought it'd be fun to put together a little Wabi Kusa. Let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so for those of you that are wondering exactly what a Wabi Kusa is, that's probably a fair question. So what it is basically immerse grown aquatic plants. I'm not sure the exact definition, but you can make them in sort of bowls, but the traditional way is to use a clay bowl. So I have purchased this one, but I have made them before in the past. And if you're interested in how to make your own, I will pop a card above right now, which will link you to a very old video of mine. So be warned that, luckily we have made some progress in terms of quality and editing and things like that. But yeah, you can certainly catch that old video. And basically what you want is sort of a clay bowl, which we've got right here. So this is actually the first time I've unwrapped it. So we'll take a first-hand look at it here. But this one I just bought online. They are fairly easy to find online. So yeah, it's just a bowl, which, it's a good idea to moisten it down, soak it beforehand before you're ready to assemble it. I think we're going to allow this cling film here to stay here so we don't make a huge mess. Now, what I like to do is actually wrap sphagnum moss around this. Some people do this, some people don't, but I do it because first of all, the sphagnum is going to assist to retain moisture and help us with the wicking process, but also because then we get a larger surface area with which to plant plants. So I feel like it's a win-win, and I like to just do it. So I've just got some damp sphagnum moss here, which we're going to place around the Wabi Kusa. Now, to secure it in place, obviously if we just sat it like that, it wouldn't do too well. So I've just got some cotton thread here, which we're going to wrap around, and that's how we're going to secure the sphagnum moss in place. Okay, so we've got the sphagnum moss fairly well wrapped around there. Now, it doesn't have to be anything crazy because there will be plants and things obviously securing this in place. So there's a couple of ways you can do the next step. What I've done in the past is put the moss down now, but this time around I'm actually going to put my aquatic plants on now, and then we'll put the moss around that now. So basically I'm just going to try it out. I did have success last time, but my suspicion is that we'll use a lot less moss doing it this way, and that way we have a little bit more flexibility to play around. So starting from the top, my idea was I found this piece of Hygrophila pinnatophyta that I've been growing in my immerse grown setup here. So I wanted to actually use that as sort of the jewel in the crown right at the top, and we'll place some other secondary pieces around that. So I'm just going to stick this right on top, and then we'll place another few pieces of the pinnatophyta around that. So they will pretty much sort of sit in place for a little while, but then what we'll do is actually just once again lap it around with some yarn. You can also, if you don't want to do that, you can also use your tweezers here. Just grab onto the base here and just sort of poke it in. Because it is just a clay bowl, it should move in pretty quickly and not be too much of a drama. So because I did cut that thread, for now we'll just poke these in. But for the piece on top, because it already is embedded in this sphagnum moss, I will just loop some thread around that one. And then I did think that it would be good to contrast colour, so I've got some Alternanthera Reneki Mini here, which is a nice red plant. Once again, this one has been growing out in my immerse grown setup. So what I might do is just sort of put these in between the pinnatophyta there, and then it should hopefully be able to nestle in underneath. Sometimes if you've got really fine rooted plants like this, it might be a good idea to actually poke the hole with the tweezers first that you intend to use, and that way you'll find it a lot easier to push the roots in, and you may find it less damaging for the plant, or there's a lowered likelihood of damaging the plant. Some plants will do better immerse grown than others, so it might be worthwhile doing a little bit of research beforehand if you have a certain type of plant you want to use. Some that come to mind are the ones that you'll often find purchased in immerse grown states. So those are like your your crypts, your anubiuses, epiphyte plants and things like that, bucephalandras. Pinnatifida is another good one. You can also experiment on your own. You can just get yourself a simple container, put some soil down or just some old aquarium gravel, something like that, and just put a bit of cling film over the top and check if your plants are going to grow immerse grown or not. You'll soon find out if they all die back or if they thrive. So I'll just continue around now placing this AR Mini, and then we'll get back again once we're ready for the next plant. And then one more plant that I decided I'm going to use at the top is Ludwigia repens. This is the submerged grown form here. I just pulled it out of one of the 4-foot display tanks here, but I have grown it immersed before. So what I'm going to do is just pull off some of the bottom leaves here, and just like before, find a nice spot up the top. I think it would be nice here up amongst this red as well, to just poke a nice hole there, grab the stem and push it into place. And maybe just right on the other side we'll put this other one, and then we sort of we'll have a lot of contrast between the plants at the top of this Wabi Kusa and the ones at the bottom. Okay, so it is important at this point in time to make sure that everything's going to be moist, so I'm just going to spray it down here a little bit. This here is the Wabi Kusa mist from, oh, that's too bright, you won't be able to see it, but this is the ADA Wabi Kusa mist, which has come out with the Duo line. It's definitely not required. You can just use normal aquarium water. Works great because it does have that nitrogen content that we're also aware of, trying to water change away the nitrates and things like that. But you can also just use normal tap water. But if you do find that your Wabi Kusa is starting to get mold and things like that, the good thing about this mist is that it contains peppermint oil, which is a natural pesticide and fungal antibacterial properties. So we've got the top happening now. It's very red, very sort of purpley and dark green. So I think it's time now to contrast that. And to do that, we've got some crypt parva here, which is obviously a small compact green crypt. So I've got a few pieces of this, which we're going to start to place around the bottom of the Wabi Kusa. So these ones, especially this one, has quite an extensive root system. So I am just going to take my scissors and just trim that down a little bit. If there are roots that are sort of more brown in color, you can just pull those straight off. But a little bit of a trim, so long as you don't go too crazy with it, won't damage the plant too much. As well as that, this is another reason I wanted to put the moss last, because if there are bare roots, we can cover those with the moss. So I'm just going ahead again. We'll have to make a nice larger sort of hole for this one, and we'll place the roots in. Okay, so the crypts are all in now and we're looking okay. I'll show you a bit more of a close-up so you can see. This is what we've got so far. It will look like a little bit of a mess until everything starts to grow in the one direction towards some light, which we'll get to shortly. But now it's time to start placing the moss around. So to do that, it's simple, just the same as the sphagnum moss. We just sort of tuck it in around everything else. I've just got some simple Java moss here, some peacock moss I believe, and just random bits and bobs of moss from all around the fish room. So I'll just continue wrapping it around with moss now, and once we are finished here, I'll just wrap some cotton thread around, and then we'll jump over into the fish room and I'll show you how I'm going to set it up for the ongoing future. Okay, so we're over in the fish room now. Unfortunately, this is just the sort of little corner where we have to situate this, but we have a few options at this point. Everything's secured now, it's in place, so what we can do, you can either just put water, to about a third of the way up or whatever. You don't have to have it fully submerged, because the whole design of this clay bowl is that it actually wicks in water and moisture, and that will water the plants above the water column. So if you just put enough water so that for a couple of days it will be able to soak up that water, that'll be fine. Also, what you can do is place a bed layer of sand, gravel or whatever you like underneath, just to give that extra effect. I'm not going to do that just at the moment, because I'm thinking later on I might actually pick up some ADA La Plata sand, but I haven't got it right now, so I don't want to put anything in that will compromise that when it comes down to it. So for now, I'm just going to pour some water in there, and there's one other thing that we should touch on. Okay, so now we've got the base layer filled up with water. I think that's pretty much, if anything, it's a bit too much, but that's okay because I'm going away for a couple of days. Now, the thing that I wanted to touch on was, if you are using non-transitioned plants, in which case some of these are, it is a good idea to kick it off with putting cling film over the top, just to give it that humidity extra level so that the plants don't dry out before they convert over to their immersed grown state. So I'm going to be doing that now. We're going to just cover the top over with cling film, and it should be right for a couple of days. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to give it a quick spray down, just to make sure that all the leaves are nice and moist before we do cover it up. And then we'll go ahead and put the cling film in 1, 2, 3. And there we go, guys. It's all covered in cling film now. So this here, it'll get a lot of nice humidity inside there, keeping these plants alive, which is what we want. And then eventually it will just, once they're fully transitioned, we can take that off, and the humidity should be enough just in the air to sustain the life. Alright, so there you go, guys. That is how to make a Wabi Kusa. Really simple, really fun process, and I find it to be quite therapeutic as well. So if you got a real stressful day and you got some clay in your backyard, then maybe at the end of it you might be able to wind yourself down making one of these fun little projects. And it's really fun to see it transform over time as well, so that yeah, who knows what will happen, and we'll take another look at it in due course. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.